All right, so imagine waking up each morning feeling like the day ahead is just another routine, a stale repetition of to-dos and obligations that no longer spark any real purpose. You're a man in your 40s or 50s, which society likes to label midlife, but you feel it's more of a lonely crossroads than anything else. Maybe you've done well enough in your career, or you've ticked those boxes like a house, a family, or even a decent income. And yet there's this gnawing question at the back of your mind. Is this all there is? It's not about lacking comfort or basic necessities. It's about feeling adrift in a sea of repetitive tasks and unspoken discontent. That's the midlife void, this strange territory where outer success doesn't guarantee inner fulfillment. It often comes quietly, showing up late at night or during those moments when you pause long enough to realize that you're not entirely satisfied. This place may look different for each of us, but the essence is the same, a disconnection from the deeper meaning of everyday life. Psychology tells us that humans thrive not just on achievement, but on a sense of direction that ties our efforts to something larger. When that tether to purpose gets frayed or severed, a void opens up. If left unresolved, it can lead to a slow-burning existential crisis. Yes, it can be frightening, but it can also be a catalyst for awakening. In this video, we'll explore how Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who faced unimaginable adversity, discovered a life-altering truth about meaning, one that stands at the intersection of spiritual awakening, philosophy, and everyday psychology. By examining how Viktor Frankl's man's search for meaning became a beacon for countless people, we'll uncover why you too have an opportunity to break free from that nagging emptiness. Picture Viktor Frankl, a young psychiatrist thrust into the horror of Nazi concentration camps. Torn from everything he held dear, his beloved wife, his professional life, his very freedom, he found himself imprisoned under the most degrading circumstances imaginable. Stripped of name, identity, and the comforts we often take for granted, Frankl witnessed and personally endured what many would consider the ultimate adversity. Yet, even in that desolation, he observed a remarkable phenomenon. Certain individuals, despite immense suffering, held on to a kind of inner fortitude. Why? According to Frankl's philosophy, they had discovered a personal why. This why, rooted in Viktor Frankl's man's search for meaning, was more than an abstract theory. It was the only thing separating those who succumbed to despair from those who rose above it. Some found their why in the hope of reuniting with loved ones. Others clung to the possibility of contributing something valuable to the world, even if just a testimony of their endurance. That unshakable sense of meaning acted as a lifeline, a spiritual awakening of sorts, grounding them amidst chaos and horror. Frankl later explained how such purpose transforms our perspective. If you possess a clear sense of why you live, you can endure almost anyhow. Even if life strips away your possessions or your dignity, if you hold tight to an inner conviction, a philosophy of purpose, you find the strength to persevere. In essence, psychology and philosophy come together to reveal that meaning is not simply a luxury, but a necessity, even in the darkest times. And as we venture further, we'll see how these lessons of overcoming adversity can illuminate our modern struggle with the midlife void, showing that the same insight which saved souls in the camps can guide us through the quieter, yet no less significant, crises of everyday life. Our modern landscape often tells us that success is about ticking off achievements, climbing that corporate ladder, expanding a business, or showcasing status symbols. From the vantage point of our 35 to 55-year-old generation, these milestones might have once looked like sure paths to fulfillment. Yet somewhere along the way, we learned, perhaps the hard way, that pleasure or power alone leaves behind a hollow aftertaste. Viktor Frankl's notion of a will to meaning stands in sharp contrast to this rat race. He observed that most people, when caught in relentless pursuit of comfort or accolades, lose sight of the deeper significance behind their actions. Happiness might come briefly, like the rush of buying something new or celebrating a promotion, but it rarely endures without a genuine purpose at its core. In Frankl's psychology, the term will to meaning encapsulates our innate drive to find purpose and relevance in our personal experiences. This pursuit is far more fulfilling than chasing transient forms of gratification. A philosophy anchored in meaning can transform ordinary routines into significant acts. When you wake up in the morning, for instance, instead of focusing on mundane tasks or that dreaded commute, you shift your perspective to see how your efforts fit into a larger framework. That framework might be as small as nurturing your child's development or as grand as contributing to society at large. This is precisely why so many who read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning find themselves pausing mid-sentence to reflect on whether they're truly living a life aligned with their deeper values. It's a stark reminder that relentlessly chasing another pay rise or a bigger home won't answer that gnawing question. Why do I get out of bed each morning? When you swap out the rat race for the will to meaning, you begin to see your time, relationships, and actions through an elevated lens, one where every day holds the potential for deeper fulfillment. Frankl's concept of meaning isn't tied to a single grand purpose. Rather, it unfolds through various expressions of human potential. His philosophy points to several ways in which any individual, whether struggling in a concentration camp or facing modern-day uncertainties, can anchor their lives to a solid sense of meaning. The first path arrives through meaningful work or creativity. When you pour yourself into a pursuit that resonates with your talents, you transform from merely clocking in and out to contributing something valuable, no matter how modest it might appear. The key lies in connecting your task to a broader significance. That could mean taking pride in an honest day's labor, or finding genuine inspiration in crafting something that improves another person's life. The second path reveals itself through love and human connection. We often underestimate the profound grounding that comes from caring deeply about another, whether it's the unwavering support of a spouse, the wisdom gleaned from a teacher, or the unspoken bond between parent and child. These relationships anchor us. When storms come, the love we give and receive nurtures a resilient spirit. It's here we see a kind of spiritual awakening, a reminder that relationships can cultivate depth and purpose beyond personal ambition or professional titles. The third path emerges when confronting adversity. Overcoming challenges can reveal inner reserves of courage and determination that most of us barely recognize we possess. Whether you're wrestling with grief, failure, or the daunting sense that life no longer excites you, hardship can be a catalyst for discovering deeper faith in yourself and in humanity at large. By facing suffering, then choosing to transform it rather than let it define you, you reclaim a vital sense of control. And it's here that Frankl's psychology and philosophy converge most powerfully. Adversity becomes a crucible that refines the spirit. When you decide to derive meaning from hardship, you become an active participant in shaping your destiny rather than a passive observer at the mercy of life's storms. It's one thing to nod along as you hear about a theory or resonate with Viktor Frankl's determination to transform suffering into meaning, but how does that become real in your day-to-day life? If you're in the midst of a midlife crossroads, you might ask, what's my personal why? Even a few reflective moments can begin to unearth the truth. Some people find it helpful to visualize themselves at the end of life, looking back with the clarity that only hindsight allows. What would stand out as the most meaningful experiences? It's not always the grand victories or the glitter of recognition. Often it's the small acts that express who you genuinely are, whether that's tending a garden, mentoring a younger colleague, or writing that short story you've always had tucked away in your mind. Psychology tells us that reflective exercises like journaling can clarify core values. Write down not just your goals, but the reasons behind them. Then ask yourself if those reasons align with something you genuinely believe in, or if they're simply borrowed from societal expectations. By consistently probing that why, you begin to sift through surface-level desires and discover a deeper drive, a spark that motivates you to persevere through mundane routines and even outright setbacks. Then comes the pivotal next step. Put this knowledge to work. Perhaps that means dedicating a small window of each day to the pursuit you find most meaningful, or finally making that phone call to a family member you've been distant from. Meaningful choices often come wrapped in everyday tasks rather than monumental gestures. When grounded in a genuine why, those modest actions feel newly energized, weaving a sense of fulfillment into even the most ordinary parts of your routine. as you begin to live in a way that honors your personal why, something remarkable happens. Hope returns. No, life won't miraculously become free of obstacles or heartaches, but when setbacks arise, they no longer knock the wind out of you in the same way. Suddenly there's a reason behind your perseverance, a guiding belief that compels you to keep going. This sense of purpose shifts your emotional landscape. Rather than feeling like you're trapped on a hamster wheel, endlessly running without direction, you recognize that each day brings an opportunity, whether that's to strengthen a relationship, refine a craft, or simply show kindness where it's needed. That may sound idealistic, but it's deeply rooted in both philosophy and psychology. Frankl saw it in the rawest conditions imaginable, and you can see it in modern context too. Look around at those who exude a quiet determination even when life seems overwhelming. More often than not, they've tapped into a deeper meaning that carries them forward. Their mindset is anchored by something stronger than fear, disappointment, or the occasional sense of stagnation that so often creeps into midlife. When you realize you're living in alignment with your purpose, it feeds a gentle yet profound feeling of hope, an inner conviction that whatever life throws at you, you'll keep going because you know precisely why your efforts matter. That's the true emotional payoff of discovering a personal why, a reservoir of resilience that lights your path and reminds you that every challenge can become a stepping stone rather than a dead end. If there's one core message to carry away from Viktor Frankl's man's search for meaning, it's that purpose is our bulwark against life's inevitable storms. In a world often obsessed with quick fixes and hollow measures of success, Frankl's philosophy stands out like a lighthouse, guiding us back to what truly anchors us. His psychology reminds us that even moments of profound suffering can offer something invaluable, a chance for a deeper awakening, a call to examine the why behind our existence. And for anyone hovering in that midlife zone, wrestling with a silent yet potent sense of emptiness, these ideas serve as both mirror and compass, reflecting the state of your inner life while pointing towards the direction you might want to take next. No matter what struggles you've already faced or which challenges lie ahead, you have the potential to reshape your mindset and align your daily actions with a purpose that resonates on a personal and even spiritual level. That might mean nurturing relationships you've neglected, seeking out meaningful forms of work, or confronting adversity with fresh determination. In every instance, the question of why remains crucial. Why does this matter to me? And how does it elevate my life or the lives of others? Once you begin asking that question and genuinely listening for the answer, you'll find that the journey toward a more meaningful life doesn't necessarily require an epic quest. Rather, it grows steadily from small, consistent steps that add up to a transformative shift in perspective. You start to realize that you're not merely existing but consciously shaping the narrative you inhabit, and in doing so, you free yourself from the grip of emptiness. That is the adventure Frankl invites us all to take, and it's an invitation that could well turn the rest of your life into the most purposeful chapter of all.